Thank you so much for being with us today as we continue to try to integrate our understanding and applying the concept of as above, so below, using occult meditation. And in our group process, we have endeavored to, as much as possible, use Meditation 5, incorporating aspects of the new approach to the science of relations, the new astrology. That meditation is recommended to be done daily over the course of weeks and months, really, using seed thoughts. The first month was receptivity, the second, impression. And we are moving into the second month as we move from Aquarius into Pisces. In Aquarius, we worked through the relation of the science of service, invocation and evocation, involution and evolution, as we learn it using the sciences of the new astrology, the science of triangles, the science of the rays in particular, and the science of the centers. We focused in previous Sundays together on Aquarius and the eye, the Ajna center. We move into Pisces later, and next week we'll begin our process in Pisces by focusing on the heart center. And we will, through this year, rotate through each sign, each cycle, to build a spiral of cyclic divine breath that, acting using the act of will, the will to act, as the stimulus for the continuity of our divine circulatory flow, so that we can receive the will to love from Shambhala through the will to express, which we will explore today, and in Pisces learn sacrifice. As Michael Robbins said, the energy to which we avail ourselves at this time will eventually come out in all of our interactions. So we open as a group to the principles of the new astrology. The essential relation of soul and personality, and the qualities that we are to consider as we endeavor to understand and be influenced and guided by the angel of the presence, that the angel of the presence may win the battle with the dweller on the threshold. That is the battle that humanity is endeavoring to win by soul influence and the presence of the angel expanding into the soul consciousness of all humanity. Andrea.
We sound the mantra of the disciples' degree. May the energy of the divine self inspire us and the light of the soul direct. May we be led from chaos to beauty, from darkness to light, from the unreal to the real, from death to immortality. Before we begin, let us align as soul and as group and see our group approaching Master Dwalkul's study. Endeavoring to touch the rain cloud of knowable things, cleared and free of the fogs of glamour and illusion, the Atmic permanent atom, the Buddha permanent atom, and the monastic permanent atom. Visualizing the one soul, uniting the souls of all our group members, those working with us subjectively, and those joining us from the other side of the veil. In unison, we sound the protective formula, uniting touch, hands, light, and love, while making the sign of the cross of divinity. As the soul, we work in light, touching our forehead, and in darkness, cannot touch us, touching the center of our chest. Touching the left eye, we take our stand within the light. Touching the right eye, we work, and from that point, we never move. Water of life, we recognize our pledged discipleship. We recognize the equipment we have been given. We recognize our achieved alignment. We recognize the soul, the source of love wisdom. We recognize our response, ability, as we contemplate the guidance we receive, and our responsibility to become effective and pure recipients and transmitters of the highest to the lowest.
Thank you, Andrea. We have entered a sweep of energies in Aquarius. The dominant second ray, the will to good, the synthetic ray of our solar system. Through Shambhala and ray 1, the will to initiate. As above, so below, ray 7, the will to express, which enters as the synthetic ray of manifestation. Embody the sweep of spiritual will, the synthetic ray of the solar system, the heart, love wisdom, the will to good. And trace the inflow of these rays of Aquarius in its greater triangle into and through our system to the monadic ray of the system, flowing from and circulating through the triangle of centers, Shambhala to hierarchy, goodwill in action, flowing into hierarchy, and goodwill flowing into and through the ajna center of the planet, the new group of world servers, into our groups, and out and into humanity as a whole, bringing goodwill to all.
The eye of God, Shiva, is the first person of the Trinity. the destroyer, but at the same time, the final absorber, the whole and yet the part. This is the organ of the divine will or power, the eye through whose directed gaze the power flows outward to its created whole. In the case of the human spirit, it is the monad. It brings a new freedom, the water of life that rains down from the rain cloud of knowable things, the waters of life, a transmitting flow of power to eliminate all hindrances, clearing out all worn approaches, old and useless methods. 2, the eye of vision, indicating this time not the directing energy, but the conscious observer, the soul, whether cosmic, solar, or human, imbuing the transmuting flow to cleanse and purify the thoughts that stream into the body of humanity. Brotherhood and sisterhood becoming true collaboration, and with the spiritual will, compassionate, selfless, and with the spiritual will, compassionate, selfless, harmless cooperation, we become the vessel of the transformative, emerging ideas. 3, the eye that knows. This is the disciple who from stage to stage reacts increasingly to the direction of the spiritual will and to the growth of sensitive response, and in both his brain and his mind consciousness in the 3 worlds knows. That knowledge is limited in the neophyte, deepening in the disciple, and profound in the master. But it is all related to vision. This vision is as fluid as the sea. Infusing all our thoughts as practical expressions of the ashram of synthesis, issuing from the synthetic ray of love wisdom of the system into the ray of manifesting synthesis. The forms and processes that will guide humanity with purity of motive, inspired by loving hearts, gathering in our garden the seeds that can be planted in the coming festivals. 4. At the same time, this formula tells us that there are 4 eyes. A. One made of fire, the eye of God. One as fluid as the sea, the eye of vision. And 2 which look from here to there, the eye that knows. These are the eye of the disciple and the eye of the personality. There is a clue to this in a statement in the secret doctrine that the right eye is the eye of Buddhi and the left eye the eye of Manas. These are the eyes of the high-grade integrated personality in rapport with the soul. D. Fire, water, and the earth all need the vital air. The air is life. The clue again to this is to be found in the secret doctrine, where we find the words, matter is the vehicle for the manifestation of soul on this plane of existence, and the soul is the vehicle on a higher plane for the manifestation of spirit. And these 3 are a trinity, synthesized by life, which pervades them all.
So we consider the 4th essential relation, that of soul and personality. Consider the level of integration that you have been able to achieve, knowing that our groups are filled with those who have achieved the status of aspirant and then accepted disciple along the path of probation and the path of discipleship. And some are making progress along the path of initiation. Most of us are still in the process of integrating the personality and bringing the personality under the control of the soul. We are part of that battle of the angel of the presence with the dweller on the threshold. So as we move forward this year, we endeavor to infuse all our thoughts as practical expressions of what we will discuss today as this ashram, or learn today, this ashram of synthesis, issuing forth the synthetic ray of the system with the 7th ray, the ray of manifested synthesis in our system and on our planet. Always with purity of motive and inspired by loving hearts.
In the Aquarian age, which is now so near, relatively speaking, there will be an externalization of the inner ashram upon the outer plane. Disciples, initiates, and world disciples will meet for the first time in human history as disciples, recognizing each other and recognizing the master of their group. The inner ashram is a focus of souls, free and unlimited. The outer ashram under the future Aquarian experiment will be composed of a focus of personalities and souls. Limitation will therefore exist. Responsibility will require conscious recognition that there will be a necessary slowing down of both action and perception in the outer space-time world.
For those of you who follow esoteric astrologer, it was noted that we need to remember that the Aquarian age, actually, the date for the start is 2117. And up to that time, we are still in the transition from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age. So we follow DK's advice: know thyself, proceed slowly and with caution, understanding that eternity is long and there is much for us to achieve. We act with the greatest and highest purity of motive in all that we do, proceeding slowly and with caution. So we talk through this sweep of energy that is coming through to us in the triangles, through the monadic ray of the system, to the will to express, that synthetic ray. So take a moment, consider all of your relationships, your relationship with community, family, with your working groups, with those groups working on a subtle level. Breathe in, and on the in-breath, bring into those environments the qualities of Aquarius, the true brotherhood. In service, and on the out-breath, offering our highest ideas concerning that great brotherhood. As we look to the great triangle, the eye of God, the monad, as we look to the new group of world servers, as the brain, those cells that are the ajna center, the distribution center of the energies, allowing us to unite in a vision of a triangle of first, second, and seventh ray energies, the energies of service, of brotherhood in true synthesis and unity, bringing down high ideals into the hierarchy we express as goodwill and as members of the new group of world servers.
In 1946 began the formation of a new ashram in which the wisdom aspect would be of particular importance and not the love aspect. This ashram would also be related in a peculiar manner to the Buddha. It had to be formed at this time in order to be the recipient, then the custodian of certain endowments, which the Buddha will bring at the time of the May full moon. The endowments concern the will to good of the Lord of the world, the Ancient of Days, though they do not concern goodwill as you understand that phrase. This ashram, when duly formed and established, will enable the members of the hierarchy to respond to this aspect of the divine purpose. The purpose which, as you know, lies behind and implements the plan. This ashram, related to the Buddha, will be specifically under the close supervision of the Christ and also of the Lord of Civilization. At this time, the Master are. They are the only two members of the hierarchy able to register the divine purpose in regard to its immediate objectives in such a manner that the entire hierarchy can be informed and can then work unitedly and intelligently at its implementation. More than this, I may not tell you about this particular hierarchical move, affecting as it does both Shambhala and the hierarchy.
This ashram, the second ray, the first ray, and the seventh ray, is coming into being. And we need to consider the direction of the seventh ray. The highest and the lowest meet.
The highest and the lowest meet, the direction of ray 7. Under the arch between two rooms, the seventh magician stood. One room was full of light and life and power, of stillness, which was purpose, and a beauty, which was space. The other room was full of movement, a sound of great activity, a chaos without form, of work which had no true objective. The eyes of the magician were fixed on chaos. He liked it not. His back was towards the room of vital stillness. He knew it not. The arch was tottering overhead. He murmured in despair, "For ages I have stood and sought to solve the problem of this room, to rearrange the chaos so that beauty might shine forth, and the goal of my desire. I sought to weave these colors into a dream of beauty, and to harmonize the many sounds. Achievement lacks. Naught but my failure can be seen. And yet I know there is a difference between that which I can see before my eyes and that which I begin to sense behind my back. What shall I do? Above the head of the magician, and just behind his back, and yet within the room of ordered beauty, a magnet vast began to oscillate. It caused the revolution of the man within the arch, which tottered to a future fall. The magnet turned him round until he faced the scene and room unseen before. Then through the center of his heart, the magnet poured its force attractive. The magnet poured its force repulsive. It reduced the chaos until its form no longer could be seen. Some aspects of a beauty unrevealed before emerged, and from the room a light shone forth, and by its powers and life forced the magician to move forward into light and leave the arch of peril.
As we move forward into this transition period between Pisces and Aquarius, it might be worthwhile to come back to this statement, the direction of Ray 7, because it holds much to provide guidance and to continuously remind us to move to that midway point where we are in this battle, the angel of the presence and the dweller on the threshold. And it keeps evolving in each cycle. Through service, we learn sacrifice. Forcing us to move forward into light and move forward along the path to eventually leave this arch of peril. We're told, and answer to this as a summary, the Planetary System blog has written about the ashram of synthesis and states the ashram of synthesis is a primary recipient of extraplanetary influences. There are extraplanetary forces that bring cosmic energies to the work of the hierarchy in preparation for the reappearance of the Christ and the manifestation of a new culture. One such great cosmic being is the avatar of synthesis. And I apologize for the typos in this particular slide set. So let us pause to ponder the inflow of this energy, its inevitable effect under cyclic law and its consequences, as these consequences work out upon the physical plane. Remembering back to DK's telling us that this is related to wisdom and the Buddha, producing all the changes of which mankind is so terribly aware at this time, he says. So this swings into immediate conflict, the past and the future, which we are all experiencing, physical plane, Mayic experiences that are occurring, all the conflicts. The astral plane, the tremendous number of glamours. And he says, in this statement, I have expressed the deepest esoteric truth which mankind is competent to grasp. And it brings into a culminating struggle the great White Lodge and the Black Lodge, and opens the door to great contending energies, which we can call spirit and matter, spirituality and materialism, or life and death. So ponder where you stand, where our groups stand. Endeavoring to be disciples and members of the new group of world servers, standing together on the path. So let us continue with this exploration. This is our reminder that all is in motion. We tend to think of things as static or stuck in space, but our work is all about breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in the wisdom and love that we receive, and breathing it out in service, in the spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood, demonstrating this as cooperation, service requiring sacrifice, and alignment with the ashram of synthesis. So as we do this, what do we need to remember about the laws of the soul? For we work with soul, and soul light, we endeavor to become one with the soul. Let's consider this.
What do we need to remember about the laws of the soul? The section upon which we now enter in our studies will be difficult and controversial. The thread which will guide us out of the bewildering maze of thought into which we must perforce enter is the golden one of group love, group understanding, group relations, and group conduct. From Esoteric Psychology, Volume 2, page 87. The laws we are considering are concerned entirely with inter-soul relationship and with the synthesis underlying the forms. They govern the conscious contact existing between the many aspects of the one soul. From Esoteric Psychology, Volume 2, page 110. All these laws, from the point of view of a disciple, need only be considered as operative in the three worlds, though it is needless to point out that parallels will be found on all the planes. These 7 laws are those which are ascertained and consciously studied in all groups working under the masters. From a treatise on cosmic fire, page 1219. They are the rules by which the teachers on the inner side guide their actions and their thoughts when working with each other and with their disciples. From Esoteric Psychology, Volume 2, page 108. These high spiritual laws find their way into the lower consciousness via the egoic lotus and the antakarana. This statement is the second basic postulate in connection with our study. The first postulate being the earlier statement that unless there is a thread of light to act as a channel, that which this law conveys will remain unknown and unwritten.
Wow. Hmm.
We can look for the new laws governing soul life, which is a group life, to begin to function and make their presence felt. These can only be expressed largely through the medium of mystical terms, and it is left to the intuition of the student to apply them to the more material forms of life. For Ray 7, Law 5, the law of group process, progress, the link of the world groups, the characteristics of the new groups, the experimental nature of the groups, astrology and the new groups, the initiates.
So as we move forward together, these laws governing our work, our life, our group life together, we endeavor to uncover, to become aware of the characteristics of the new groups. Therefore, we focus on these qualities. We link to the world groups. We experiment, experience, and express. And we're studying the new astrology, which is so advanced from the astrologies that have even evolved to this day that are called, some are called esoteric, where the new astrology is the astrology of groups. When we use the old astrology, we are actually going back in time. So let us focus on what DK tells us to focus on: the triangles, the rays, and the centers. And then through growing esoteric wisdom from this study, eventually, as the Aquarian age progresses, there will be revelations of the new astrology in terms of charts that will be different from anything we know now. A science of destiny that will allow us, when we are truly part of the ashram, to be able to know what the next step is, what the part of the plan is that we are to do. It's a very important law, this law of group progress. Pause to ponder for yourself. What are you attached to in your own understanding of your soul and soul life? Are you attached to certain concepts that you acquired along the path that drive you as an individual that may now need to be surrendered and detach from that individual spiritual ambition that is a glamour and illusion, and what is needed to move into soul life as group life? The intuitive flashes leading to a whole new awareness.
sacrifice, service, magnetism. I, if I be lifted up, will draw. Group progress, divine repulsion. These are but the inadequate terms whereby we seek to express the divine truth that the whole life and expression of the solar logos will only be possible and his purpose only be revealed when he has brought each atomic unit to the stage of self-realization. Then he will lead them on to the point of sacrificing that realized self so that divine purpose and will may be consummated and the divine life and glory shine forth in perfect radiance. This might be expressed in more material terms by saying that through the dominance of these laws of the soul, the logoic physical body will become an active expression of his self-realized purpose. The law of group progress, the law of elevation, the mountain and the goat, progressive energy, seventh ray, factor of evolution.
Sometimes called the law of elevation, for the law of group progress concerns the mysteries of group realization and expansions of consciousness, and the part each unit plays in the general progress of a group. In relation to the human family, for instance, the truth must ever be borne in mind that no human atom arrives at fullness of life without adding much to the general nature of his own group. The elevation of a unit results in the raising of the group. The realization of the unit brings about eventually group recognition. The initiation of the unit leads finally to planetary initiation and the attainment of the goal by the human atom, and his achievement of his objective brings about steadily and ceaselessly group achievement. No man liveth to himself, and the crucifixion of the units throughout the eons and their realization of their essential nature only in order to offer up the best they have and realize to the interests of the group are but the methods whereby the work of liberation is carried forward.
DK gives us this outline, the methods of the work of liberation. Liberation in its true sense, rather than the sense that we hear expressed in the conflicts that go on with violence and other Maya, glamour, and illusion that occur on the physical plane. So let us always keep, as we work together this year in this cycle, moving forward through the festivals, this statement in relation to the human family. No human atom arrives at fullness of life without adding much to the general nature of his own group. So whichever group you are immediately drawn to, magnetized to, then also recognize, as we have, as above, so below, that that group is part of this neural network of light and soul. See your light in brain terminology. There's a ganglion. It's kind of a cluster of cells of light. And the light streaming out from that ganglion, connecting it to all the other beacons of light. The elevation of a unit results in the raising of the group. The realization of the unit brings about eventually group recognition. And we are told that the way of the future is group initiation. The initiation of the unit, considering yourself as part of a greater unit, leads finally to planetary initiation and achievement, bringing steadily and ceaselessly about group achievement.
The law of group progress can only begin to have a conscious effect in the life of the disciple who has been pledged and accepted. When he has established certain rhythms, when he is working effectively along certain well-recognized group lines, and when he is definitely and in understanding, conscious, preparing himself for the expansions of initiation, then this law begins to sway him, and he learns to obey it instinctively, intuitively, and intellectually. It is through obedience to this law that preparation for initiation is instituted by the disciple. The previous sentence is so worded because it is important that all should grasp the self-initiated necessity of initiation. Do we understand this importance? Some of the effects earlier mentioned in the initial discussion of this fifth law can here be enumerated. Let us not forget their esoteric and unseen significances.
As we move forward together, and attempting to work under this law, we will go through some of this information in Pisces and later in each cycle as it unfolds. But the summary that DK gives us is the law of group progress. Its general effect is new groups and soul unity. The physical effect in the planetary life is the new group of world servers. The reaction is the love of synthesis, and the quality is inclusiveness.
holding the consciousness in the head and seeing our group together as one. Visualize a sphere of deep electric blue, vivid and living. Say the following words, endeavoring to realize their significance as we say together. We stand in spiritual being, and as the soul, we serve. We stand within the light, and as the light shines throughout our form, we radiate that light. We stand within the love of God, and as that love streams through and from the heart, we magnetize the ones we seek to aid.
Consider for yourself using the sign of the cross of divinity and the image of the fixed cross as you sound this mantra. Aquarius, the forehead, touching the ajna center. We stand in spiritual being, and as the soul we serve. Leo, touching the center of the chest. We stand within the light, and as the light shines throughout our form, we radiate that light. Touching the left eye. We stand within the love of God, and as that love streams through and from the heart, then touch the right eye, Scorpio. We magnetize the ones we seek to aid. Moving out from the Buddhic plane, the right eye, the eye of Buddhi. So hopefully you will have time to pause and consider the qualities that flow through you, your soul qualities, and how those flow into your community and into your working groups. For DK tells us the virtues are only effects of group life. Group life rightly handled, which are attempting to express themselves on the physical plane. So ask, how are you receiving this flow from the group life? And how are you expressing this flow as soul qualities into your community and into your working groups? These are some of the ideas that were shared the last time we met. You might draw on these. You might suggest your own. And as we move out of Aquarius into Pisces, hold these thoughts as your expression. Review the virtues of the rays. And we'll look at these very deeply, the second and the sixth ray virtues in Pisces. These effects rightly handled. And then in the ashram of synthesis, what are the virtues, the effects that we need to develop? Love, humility, compassion, unselfishness, and energy, gentleness and love, realization of unity, wide-mindedness, and tolerance. To activate the law of group progress. As these descend, they produce, as DK says, stimulation. As they ascend, they produce transmutation and abstraction. And the one effect is as unalterable as the other.
The true ashram, of which the coming outer ashrams will be but reflections, is not for lower concrete mind discussion. It is a focal point of receptivity. It embraces the effort to establish mutual contact through a united recognition of the vision, of the esoteric basis of life, and the laws governing action. It is not a place, however, for long and silent meditation processes, for it is a point of tension where together the ageless wisdom in its more esoteric aspects is discussed, where the nature of soul relationship is recognized, and where the fusion of auras and the interblending of the triangles goes forth consciously.
So let us hold this vision of the fusion of auras and the interblending of these triangles within us, but more importantly, in our groups, and on up through the higher triangles to which we seek to be receptive. Recognizing at all times the nature of soul relationship. So this ashram of synthesis, which is developing, particularly during this time, this transition time into the 2117, the beginning of the year marking the beginning of the Aquarian age, that we are developing the ability to materialize our service as one group, thinking the teachings into the minds of humanity. So relating the paths along the road and the great triangle we invoke in every alignment, receiving energies from these three great zodiacal beings, the avatar of synthesis, the spirit of peace, or the spirit of equilibrium, and the Lord Buddha. We ascend to receive, and in the descent, receive impressions on the path of initiation, the path of discipleship, and the path of probation. Those of us who have studied glamour, this is an important thing for all of us to recognize, that when the work of the Buddha, who is so closely related to the ashram of synthesis, or the embodied Buddhic principle, is consummated in the aspiring disciple and in his or her integrated personality, then the full expression of the work of the Christ, the embodied principle of love, can also be consummated. And both these potencies, light and love, will find radiant expression in the transfigured disciple. That's the third initiation. What is true, therefore, of the individual is true also of humanity as a whole. And today, humanity, having reached maturity, can enter into realization and consciously take part in the work of enlightenment and of spiritual loving activity. The practical effects of this process will be the dissipation of glamour and the release of the human spirit from the thraldom of matter. I'm just going to pause there to remind us that DK says that the first 1,000 years of the Aquarian age will result in the dissipation of glamour and the creation of that clear astral field, which will release the human spirit from the thraldom of matter. It will produce also the dispelling of illusion and the recognition of truth as it exists in the consciousness of those who are polarized in the awareness of the Christ. So that awareness of the Christ consciousness literally is not something that is present in the beginning. The Buddha is the embodied Buddhic principle. And so this integration of the personality that we are endeavoring to accomplish, and our work with the essential relations and understanding the ways in which the new astrology will guide us, we're in this spot between Pisces and Aquarius, where we are given the work of enlightenment and of spiritual loving activity as we enter into realization. He also tells us that all the faiths, all the religions, should realize that there is no desire to make them Christian in the ordinary sense of the term, and that is something that is so important for us to remember when we speak of our awareness of Christ, the master of all masters, that speaking to others, we need to understand how to cross that linguistic barrier. But all faiths should move forward towards some loving synthesis and eliminate mutual antagonisms and rivalries, and this is equally urgent at this time. So just a note as we work together, always acknowledging the many names for the Christ as those who are beginning to be enlightened recognize that higher principle and study with the Buddhic principle of wisdom in order to enable us to do that together. It's a very big challenge.
Instructive work of the avatar synthesis will be apparent to you in the name he is known by. He is coming to the earth in order to further the manifestation of unity, of oneness, and of interrelation. And he comes, therefore, to wield and apply first-ray energy. He will charge or galvanize the three groups, the directing agents in Shambhala, the Nirmanakayas, and the new group of world servers with dynamic energy, and in a mysterious way relate them to each other so that a new synthesis and alignment will be present upon the earth.
So receptivity, being receptive to receive, those words are very important. So let us become the recipient as a group of impressions, that we may recognize the qualities as a group to express. What effects shall we express? And this is just a reminder that the second ray is the dominant ray, and all rays are sub-rays of the second ray of love wisdom. It is the one in the center who is the point within the circle of manifestation with three major qualities: life or activity in form, love, and the power of abstraction. This is a reminder to us, as DK says in the Dyna books, to increasingly work also under the law of abstraction. It is in these last two qualities of deity with which we are concerned in the formulas that we're using and in connection with the second ray of love wisdom. The dualities of attraction and abstraction emerge, both latent and both capable of perfected activity in their own field. So on the highest level, the rays of the ashram of synthesis, the first ray, the second ray, and the seventh ray, I assert the fact, I see the greatest light, the highest and the lowest meet. We looked at the six brothers of the second ray before, and look again, go back to these statements. The first ray statement, is that the first ray statement? Think about these in relation to those groups that the ashram, the avatar of synthesis, is working with. It's working with the new group of world servers for the manifestation of this synthesis. Reflect on these in your own time and space when you have time to really concentrate and reflect on your experience. And remember, the keynotes that we mentioned was actually last year in Opening to the Energies. The keynotes of the 7 rays as they are given on the left-hand column for the 7 great beings, these 7 rays that are the beings that embody all of the planetary and systemic lives. The keynotes for humanity at this time are given. If we look at those for the ashram of synthesis, initiation, vision, and organization. He says we study these, it will reveal truths and their promise. The keynotes of humanity, the 7 energies playing upon human consciousness in an effort to produce and evoke the will aspect in advanced man. We are opening the vortices of the soul vehicle, the egoic lotus, through experiment, experience, and expression. We are told at the stage of discipleship, when the individuality and the personality are beginning to merge, the soul, for the 4th essential relation, is becoming achieved. The 2 head centers are becoming increasingly active. And we will look at that in Pisces as part of the 6th essential relation. The 2 head centers, the Ajna center and the crown. The petals are all vibrant, and the dynamic life of the soul is beginning to sweep the center of the lotus into activity. The light of the petals in the centers below the diaphragm, that's the 5th essential relation, beginning to dim. But the center of the lotus, in those centers below the diaphragm, is becoming more and more brilliant and living. All the above process takes much time and includes the path of probation or purification and the path of discipleship.
As disciples learn to integrate themselves into the Master's ashram, they discover that the first thing they have to do is to establish a basic harmony between themselves and their fellow disciples, and to reinforce the contact between their own souls, the ashrama group, and the Master. Then they learn to comprehend, through discussion and experiment, the nature of the energies which are seeking world expression, and the nature of the forces which must be reduced to powerlessness if these new incoming energies are to prove effective in bringing about the desired changes under the plan.
So now in 2025, we have the beginning emergence of the 4th ray influence. Harmony through conflict. We'll look at that in greater detail throughout the year.
Perhaps no better suggestion can be made to the man or woman who seeks to function as a true server than to ask them to repeat daily with their whole hearts and minds behind the words, the dedication at the conclusion of the esoteric catechism. I play my part with stern resolve, with earnest aspiration. I look above, I help below. I dream not, nor I rest. I toil, I serve, I reap, I pray. I am the cross, I am the way. I tread upon the work I do. I mount upon my slain self. I kill desire, and I strive, forgetting all reward. I forego peace, I forfeit rest, and in the stress of pain, I lose myself and find myself and enter into peace. To all this, I solemnly pledge myself, invoking my higher self.
So as we move forward together, let us ponder on that which must be sacrificed to achieve true inclusiveness, true unity, and oneness, recognizing our pledged discipleship, recognizing the equipment that we have been given, gratefully rendered, recognizing our achieved alignment, recognizing the soul, the source of love, wisdom, and recognizing the hierarchy. And now let us daily recognize the ashram of synthesis, the power of the first, second, and seventh rays to move through this transition period for humanity up until 2117 and then on into the Aquarian age, so that during this age, this inclusiveness, this true inclusiveness and unity can emerge.
The
Souls of all are one, and we are one with them. We seek to love, not hate. We seek to serve, and not exact due service. We seek to heal, not hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form and life at all events, and bring to light the love that underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate, and outer cleavages be gone. Let love prevail. Let all people love.